approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? There shouldn't be any discussion because you only have one item. All those in favor vote yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Six oh. Yeah.
Oh, she did vote. Yes,
6-0.
6-0.
Passes 6-0. Discussion items, Hayes High change order approval.
Okay, so the board requested to have DLR come talk some more about the change orders, and we also have Navholz here. So this is Ishida, who's the lead architect. Ishida Banerjee.
Banerjee.
How do you say it?
Banerjee.
You know, honestly, I've never said your last name out loud, so I read it all. There you go. Okay, I'll practice so I won't mess up.
My last name.
Anyway, Ishida is our lead architect on the project currently, so she's here to kind of walk you through some of this.
Yeah, I'm Ishita Banerjee. I'm the project manager on the Hayes High and have been managing all the bond projects since the inception in design. Like prior to the bond process, we had a different team. I have Kevin Drescher with us here. He is also with DLR, and he has 45 years of experience, and he's a principal with the firm. And if we have questions, or if you have questions that I could not answer correctly or appropriately or needed more explanation, Kevin will be able to support us. He has done this forever, as I said, 45 years, so hopefully he can satisfy the questions better. And he, yes, as a background, like this is a little bit FYI kind of thing. In his past life, he owned his own firm for 10 years, 15 years, I think, yeah. So hopefully he knows exactly what the practice is and how the practice should be done. A little bit on the presentation. The presentation is very lean. It is truly to satisfy what your questions are, and I was not present in the past board meeting, so I have only gotten a second-hand reference of exactly what was asked and why there were questions or queries on this. So if these are not the things that you wanted to hear and there are further questions, just let us know and we will answer as needed. We as architects run by the AIA, like essentially our code of conduct is by AIA. AIA stands for American Institute of Architects. It's a national organization, and then there are sister organizations throughout the country for each state and the city. So we run by the American Institute of Architects, and all our contracts are actually drafted through the American Institute of Architects. The contract forms are actually as a AIA number to it. Our contracts are set in a way like there are different contract forms, like form type B, form type C. Contract form B133 is the form that between the district and the architectural firm is signed, and that is essentially a contract that we will be providing all the design services throughout the design process, as well as to provide a construction observation effort throughout the construction process. And we are independently contracted to the district, and the construction team has their own contract with the district, so there is like no conflict of interest here. It also defines, like in the AIA also defines the form for the contractors as well. They also have AIA contract with Ron, and it generally outlines the general responsibilities and the with the contractors and the owners, and it's also an industry standard. Like that's the standard we follow. It's followed across the nation. Like anything in the US will be through the AIA. This is just a snippet from our contract. As our contract is written, we always advise, this is an advice to the owner to hold a contingency amount. What is a contingency? A contingency is essentially a dollar value that is set aside both during the design and throughout the construction process to allow for any kind of changes to take place, like it could be a design change, it could be a construction change that happened because something was not identified correctly during design, or maybe even the owner thought like, oh, we don't want this wall to be here, let's move the wall to on the other side, or something like that, like the door needs to switch, the color doesn't match, or what we designed for, maybe the crane of door is not available anymore, so we are looking for different, those are the unforeseen conditions. There are oftentimes we design to something and the design process is almost a year and a half, sometimes depending on the type of project. For a project of this scale, it was at least almost a year of design and then 3 months in bidding. So it was a long process. And during process, oftentimes we specify it as products that has been either traditionally used or we are familiar with it, but during bidding you may find that it is out of production. Or even during bidding that was bid, but you may find that it was completely out of manufacturing during when the contractor was actually procuring it on site. So then you have to change products, and you may get into some kind of cost difference in that, and you have to cover those costs. And those are the costs that comes from the owner contingencies. So there are two different types of contingency. One is a owner contingency, which is held for scopes like that, like a change that is unforeseen. Maybe a change in product, change in design, a wall that needs to move for whatever reason. Also, we have to take into account that we may design, like, even with all the changing technology and how the technology has improved with our design practices, like when we can see everything in 3D and exactly design a duct or even detail to a level of like a conduit, 1.5 inch conduit is also detailed in our drawings. But oftentimes during construction that may need to move. Like it may have to change the location of it, or the subcontractor was not necessarily, he may have seen something, but it didn't really, there was a situation that was created that did not solve out exactly how it was designed. So that may have to change a little bit. And so those kind of situations can incur some cost. Like if a duct had to move, like say 10 feet and suddenly have to become longer, then they have to provide some cost. And that cost is not necessarily an error. It's an issue that couldn't have been identified. Like a building design is perfect to up to say 95%, 97%, but it is never perfect, because at the end of the day, we are not designing a replica, we are designing a unique building. And there is a design expectation language also set in AIA. It's a very unique process, and there is no way you can attain perfection during design. And so owner's contingency does help to allow for or account for those risks that are not necessarily or couldn't have been identified. Like there could be a situation where we designed in an existing condition, we could have designed a floor which didn't need any kind of remediation or any kind of change, but like by the time you are trying to put the floor in or something like that, there could be some unforeseen utilities that goes under the slab, and you have to completely redo those utilities. So those kind of costs will come out of owner's contingency. There is a way to manage the construction type effort on the construction contingency. A construction contingency is held for issues like if there is a shortage in material and substitution, or any kind of unforeseen conditions, like it could be a weather, like there is like 10-day of weather delay, they have to cover those costs. So that kind of unforeseen conditions, any kind of scope gap, like if they may have not identified during bidding, something was not identified correctly, or maybe the sub did not completely cover the scope in his bids, those kind of scope gaps will be essentially taken out from construction contingency. There could be schedule delays, there could be any kind of design coordination that didn't really work out the way we had designed. Like we may have planned it a certain way, and during construction it was identified maybe that doesn't necessarily work out or solve as we had designed. Any kind of issues with scope completion, like if they could not complete something in time, that will be also taken out of construction contingency so that they can complete it in time, something like that. Again, there is industry standard, and these are all from AIA. So there is an industry standard. The industry expects or suggests to hold about 3 to 5% of the construction cost. So if you have a $100 million project, you have at least 3 million to 5 million in construction contingency, and 3 to 5% in owner contingency. So almost 6%, so another $6 million just in contingency amount. However, during Hayes High School, because our documents are really well done, we have only 0.995%, which is only $1 million out of $105 million, 0.95% of 0.95% held in owner's contingency. The construction contingency is held at $2 million, which is part of the GMP, and it is only 1.9%. You can see how much tighter our contingencies are, and honestly, we have not used even like half of it yet, even though we are at 60% in construction, and most of the major trades have been covered. We have not used half of it yet. Like we are at 48% of the contingency amount, including all the changes, like including the PCCUs. And this is an owner ask. So there are owner asks accounted for, and they are coming out of the contingency. So including the owner ask, we are only at 48% of the contingency from the owner contingency. Construction contingency is even further in. Like it's not at, I don't know how much is the construction.
Spent is about 500,000, so.
Yeah, so it's like only at 25% at 60% of construction. And we are at, construction is at 59% as of December BAP, right? Yeah, December BAP is 59%. Again, this is just what NABOS had presented. This is the 481,590 is the total contingency amount that is being used at this point. So we feel very comfortable about the contingency amount. We don't think it is an over ask. Again, contingency is part of the budget. It should not be accounted as like a money that is separately held, or it is not. It's an owner's money that is towards the project. It's not an owner's money that should be put aside in a bank or something like that. So we do think this is a fair ask. And if there are any further questions, please do feel.
Yeah, can you go back to the slide of the construction contingency? Can you, one more, sorry. One more? Yeah. Can the design coordination and the subcontractor coordination, can you explain that again? I'm sorry.
So contractor coordination is essentially the contractor has multiple subs under it, like per each scope. Like concrete may have a different person, subcontractor under him, steel, flooring, walls, everything has their own subcontractor. So any kind of coordination with them, like there could be like the concrete was poured right, but the steel did not come in right. So those kind of effort, they need to coordinate and fix it to the final design, right? So there may be a cost associated with that kind of change, because at the end of the day, not all, it could be called as a fault or a flaw in the coordination process, but not everything can be predicted ahead of time. Like it's like after the fact we get something, or even like sometimes like if you have a wall that is curving, like there is a great example. If you have a wall that is curving and the curve looks perfect when it's built like that, but as soon as a straight column goes by, you may see the difference. It's not as perfect. So those kind of issues that can come through between different trades that they need to cover up or spend some dollars on to fix, and that's where the construction contingency will come through. The design coordination is mainly once we design everything and we deliver it as a document to the contractor to build from, they also give those documents to the subs, and the subs essentially parse it out, and they actually create separate documents for themselves, which are called shop drawings, that come through us again, just to make sure that it's a checks and balances process. We make sure we look through it and coordinate based on our drawings what we designed, so that when they build it, it's closest to our design. But still there could be a few things that may have been missed or overlooked. Like when we are looking at these, there could be like, if you think of your steel shop drawings there, it's like thousands of pages, and there could be one dimension that was off and we missed it, and it was built to that, and suddenly you are 3 inches off on something. So there could be things like that that is honestly very hard to catch. Like it's like beyond human, I would say, human ability to catch. And every construction has their own issues, and every project is unique. Like you may have done flooring 50 times, but depending on the subgrade, your flooring may look completely different and may not be the right condition for that floor or something like that. So every project is different, and there are issues with every project and challenges with every project, and that cannot be always predicted prior to construction or prior to design.
So I'm really grateful that we have this special meeting, because I spent a lot of time reading the contracts between DLR and us, as well as NASBOLTS and us, and it really helped me understand what was going on. I hated every second of it. I hated every second of reading those contracts. I did have a question. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. In DLR's contract, there was a lot of reference to a project manager. If this needs to be changed, there will be discussion with the project manager. If this needs to, a lot of stuff with the project manager, who is that for our job?
I work.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
For your project manager?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, when we think of a project manager in terms of from the owner side, we have the owner executive team essentially. So either we talk with if there is a design design change, we have to either bring in Ron or Sean, like because Sean is the principal of the school. So we bring him in and make sure that we coordinate with him that if there is a change that is being suggested or if there is an error that occurred that is beyond change or something like that, and they have to live with it, we definitely make it a point to them and point it out and then work with him to see what the solution can be accepted.
So, also in the contract, it refers to working with a construction manager. That would be Brett.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, project manager is,
Brett and Dylan, they're project managers.
They are the
We're
project
the
manager from the
managers.
construction side.
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So, typically, part of the job of the project manager would be to read through all possible contracts and make sure that they're kosher, but we signed with DLR before we signed with Naples, correct?
Yeah.
2016 and 2017? Okay, so did you go back through the contract post being signed to see, like, if we're all on the same page? or-
Yeah.
Okay, so after reading the contract, like, it's pretty clear that, like, this would classify as a, hold on, let me use the right terminology here. This would classify as a design clarification, which would be under the owner's contingency. So I completely understand that, not a problem. My concern is, what happens if we run over the contingency?
That's why we do advise those amounts, was to protect, I mean, it's really to protect you as the ownership group, is, we were to run over, the simple answer is, we would have to ask you for a change order. We're advising this amount, so we don't have to ask for additional funds, it's to protect you from having to reach out for additional funds on this type of project or to the bottom. So we've allotted for that. Now, looking at where we're at today and the amount of contingency that we do have, whether it's owner or construction contingency, we've got roofs on most of the building. You know, we're getting Mother Nature out. We're getting out of a lot of the risk. So I'm comfortable with where we sit as construction contingency amount and a design contingency amount. But that would be the process if we would run out and exhaust both of them. We wouldn't have to reach out for more. Not anticipating that based on where we sit today.
Now I do have another, and these are clarification questions that I like wrote down as I was going, because I was like, I just need to make sure that
Lot of
wrap my
construction
head around
numbers.
this is a lot. Naples is a construction management company. You're a senior project manager within a construction management company, correct? Okay, construction management company tackles construction projects and manages the subcontractors within that to get the job done, correct?
Right. Yep.
Okay, project manager within that. I know that a project manager is different in DLR. Project manager within the construction management company is head of the project. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Now, when I talk about project managers, and when we talk about, like, maybe we should have got a project manager, there's like a difference in my head between a project manager to represent us and a project manager to represent Naples. So, technically you represent Naples, but do you also represent
We represent
us?
you.
Okay,
I mean,
because
we work for you. You've hired us to
I
manage your.
think, Brett, it will help to clarify what your contract is. Your contractor, their contractor, the contract with Ron is CMR, which is construction manager at risk.
Yes.
So that's a different delivery method than a
then a
GC.
okay.
GC is a general contractor which Ron would have hired on his own, and that GC would have worked to deliver the project and would have not taken the risk, whereas they are actually working for Ron to deliver the project and
Okay.
taking the risk on that.
But they're actually working for Naples. They're not working for, I mean, they work for us, but their primary responsibility is with Naples.
If you define it, then we are also working for DLR, but our responsibility for the team is to deliver the project for the client.
Yeah, the contract is what it
Our
specifies that
delivery
they work for
method
us.
is that we are working for the client, not for DLR. So that if you think of a conflict of interest effort, like that's like we would do everything that the client will need to us to deliver the project for him, not for our, like there is no, I feel like there is a service method that we are doing here. We are not necessarily trying to save us.
And that is pretty unusual because any project over 100 million, usually you have multiple contract managers or owners, representatives. Like Walmart might have 4 or 5 full-time managers on that project. They'll have a plumbing one, they'll have a electrical one.
No, we actually do work with
I've never
Walmart.
done
I know you do,
it.
I've checked that out, and a lot of them have those on site, and they work with you, and you work with them. It's not unusual for you not, it's unusual for not to have a owner's representative.
I disagree with that.
That's what we're paying them to be.
That's what you're
Yeah,
paying us
yeah,
to
that's-
be,
that's
is
what
we're,
they're being paid.
we're.
I know, but you're not our
GMP.
representative, obviously, because look at all these that we've missed.
Well, I mean, by that logic, then anybody that doesn't work for USD would not be working for you. You know, you hired us and you are our client, so we're your representation. So
And-
anybody who doesn't.
We have
work
your
for USD
interest,
would not have.
we have a GMP.
Alan, I was really confused about that.
Now, fixing everything.
But in the contract, they don't have it, they make a mistake, and we have to pay them.
We had a contingency.
There will be
The
contingency
construction
in any
contingency is there
construction
for
project.
we make
It's
mistakes.
So
something
where's
that
the
you-
accountability of that? Do we have that? Do we have all your list of all your changes of your
Yeah.
contingency? Where is that?
They took me a lot.
Put it up on the.
No, I mean, we have item by item, like
Item
this
by
is
item.
one. Now, this is what we're paying for, what's about that you pay for?
Sorry, I missed
The construction contingency, how's it spent? That's what you spent when you see, like, you had to put in a road that you did plan for. So did that come out of your construction contingency, is that listed there?
Yeah, construction contingency usually our discussion, whether it's, we need to speed up a subcontractor, we need to do any of those items that they're expediting to make sure we deliver on the GMP that we promised you.
But we have a change reason of, I just picked up one, it says plan error. And we have to pay for a Naples error in the plan.
It's
And I know it's in
Nat
that.
holes, but just
What's
to be
that?
clear, it's not Nat holes, just.
Right, it's DLR.
But we have advised you to have those in there, so we're not asking, it was always built into the entire high school program budget.
Project budget.
So if we go back to that spreadsheet,
At the end.
the other way. We have held true to the 114,628. We have advised you, we're helping you manage your entire program to deliver on that. So that has not increased the bond total.
The guaranteed max has not been increased to 114,000. Because that's come out
That's
of
part
your
of the bond.
contingency, it was part of the original amount.
Well, it was part of the bond as a contingency.
Part of the bond.
Alan.
Part of the bond,
So
yeah.
we manage the
understand that.
entire bond.
104. Where's the 114?
104 is the construction cost.
Oh, sorry.
So then you add the design fees, like you add all the fees
I'm
associated.
blind as a bat, I'm sorry.
And then we have furniture and everything that's not in our.
Not part of the
contract.
construction process.
But we're trying to help,
So-
make sure we don't overrun any.
You are considered general, you're not
Construction manager.
you're construction manager. So when you call subs in and you make a mistake and they have to be there 3 days instead of 2 days or 1 day, that comes out of construction, or does that come out of us?
Construction.
Construction contingency.
Okay, except some of these, it's, you're asking us to pay for. We have to pay for the stipends, we have to pay for the room and all that, because they're coming back to fix a problem that wasn't done.
But that's why we have contingency.
That's the whole
So
reason.
contingency amount is for anything that is unforeseen within the construction process.
But it's like, you don't have any responsibility. I mean, because we're being paid for it. Your contingency, we're paying for, our community's paying for, our contingency, our community's paying for. So it's not really coming out of anybody's. it's our
I think there is
community's
an
paying for it.
industry standard, like, and we are well below the industry standard. So if you think, like, as I said, like, I think there's a slide that
And I would
is
call it the
hidden.
project's contingency.
Yeah, it's the project contingency. There's a
Not
hidden slide at the
necessarily.
last, which has design expectations in it. Probably didn't come through. But essentially, design expectations by AIS language says that we are not, it is not a perfect. Can you go back? Maybe go down.
You had mentioned that you had over 300 requests for information on files. And then, so you have,
That's not out of the normal, something this
No.
complex and big.
I agree, for this, for 100 million, that's probably not an out of the ordinary.
think you
And then you have that
just
many.
click on it.
Just the PSIs.
Yeah, 20-some. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
While we get this figured out, Mr. Jeter, I have a question for you. Mr. Dieter, I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did you initially read these contracts? Were they, I'm assuming so. Were there any changes that you recommended?
No,
Okay, thanks.
no. These are standard form contracts.
These are
from
very standard
industry,
forms.
which is used all over the country every day.
I just wanted to make sure because,
But I did look at it.
okay.
And there's
First of all, I
specific
wasn't
things
ever
that I
counting
look
that. I just
for
wanted to make sure.
from the legal review. I mean, I don't like binding arbitration, for example.
Okay.
But it's normal for you to have these kind of conversations, and you say, okay, well, we have a 25% fault, and you have 75%, and so the owner, I mean, that happens when you have these types of situations come up, with change orders. If you can say, like, if we wanted to change the face of the block, and that was our choice, definitely, that was something that, I don't know where that request came from, probably from Ron and Sean, it sounds like. They're determining that, and they tell you, hey, we want to change the block, and so we have to add more money to do that. But if it's something that was done from the design,
When
there
you
should be
define
a
design, what do you mean?
part of
That
your-
wall has to move half an inch to clear something, and that has to be done during design. There are so many construction things that are happening on the side that to that level of perfection, that is impossible. Like, and AIA clearly states that, like it is, like AIA has full language that states like that the building like is a unique product. It's not a product that is manufactured. It is done on a, like it's a daily basis, but every time it's a unique solution, right? Like it's a unique design process, and there is a little bit of experimentation in every design. So there is experiment going on when we are designing a product or a project for you. It's not a product, so there is no way to foolproof a design to the level of like where, or maybe a wall did not have to move 3 inches.
what's pull out, is like the cameras in the elevator shaft, is that code, or what was that request?
That was a request.
That was a request by the
By the
owner?
owner.
By the
No,
owner.
that's by the owner, because what we
That was a
realized.
for safety request by the
Yeah.
owner. That's not a code requirement. Many
Right,
owners.
it's
do
not
do
required.
Like it, but this was a request by the owner. And once you do that.
And
then
we
the
don't know
project
about
is-
that, so explain that, what was that request for? I mean, it was for
Well, I'll
security?
explain,
That's,
Alan.
yeah.
Very simple, we realized that our elevators, didn't think of it, didn't have a camera. And we're putting all these cameras in, and the question was, do we want cameras in the elevators? Absolutely. I mean, we have cameras everywhere in the building, so it would be ridiculous not to have. And so we added 3 cameras, which required some additional wiring.
Yeah. Whereas-
See, you're not paying for the cameras through this, because that's kind of other places for the wiring.
So, okay, so the bond's paying for the wiring, is it, so it's cameras in the elevator? I thought it's read somewhere where it's in the
Inside.
elevator shaft, but it's
No,
not.
it's
a cab.
inside the elevator
You're
cab.
watching people
Like
in
when
the
you're
cab.
inside the
Okay.
cab, people can still monitor.
So all of these change orders, again, I reviewed them. The only one that I could see that wouldn't require inspections being passed would be the paint. Everything else, in order to pass inspection, would have to be completed. Is that correct? So, let me ask you this. We don't do that. Let's just play devil's advocate. That we don't fix this. We don't approve this tonight. Would we pass inspection?
I think most of the issue is like already done either, or has to be done to even complete the project. So I have to go back and go line by line, but there are like issues like the steel had to move a little bit, or a wall had to be adjusted, and things like that. Or there were walls that the thickness had to grow because the product we designed for did not fit within the wall thickness that we designed.
Right, so one of them you have in there is clarified fire-rated window types on door and window schedule. So if we didn't fix that,
That will
are we
be-
gonna end up fixing it in 5 and 10 years and it costs more?
Yes, yes.
You wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to turn over the building.
Building,
That was
yeah.
specifically
If it's-
because the fire marshal.
If it's a fire, yeah, fire-rated requirement.
So why wasn't that put in the original bid, is what
I have to also explain, like, your question is valid and I will probably answer that, but like the explanation is something you have to also think of. Like, oftentimes, a fire rating requirement or something, like maybe did not account for like the thickness of the glass or something like that. So that is the only, as far as I remember, I think it's the glazing fire rating that was not accounted for. But these are also first cost to the owner. This is not something that was already put in and it was mistake. These are first cost to the owner. So if I was to design it perfectly, you would have still accounted for that payment. Like it's not a additional cost to the project. So if you think about that, this is truly a first cost to the owner. There is nothing in the project as of now, as I can't remember, that has been already done and it was found that it was done incorrectly. And then we had to go back and fix, and that's what you are paying for. Everything is a first cost to the owner at this point. So if for you, we would have done this perfectly, then this cost would have been part of the budget anyway. So think about that.
So let me ask you this then, Dylan and Brett. Added roof drain in area E that was missed during BIM coordination. So if we didn't add the roof drain, what would happen to the building?
Then the slope was, like this came to us essentially. So essentially the way that it was sloping, there is a wall, like a smaller parapet wall, that was not necessarily identified, like that, like the water cannot go over the parapet wall. So we had to add a roof drain here so that it can drain correctly. If not, it would have pooled the water. So that's why we had to add the drain.
And then we have damage to the building that would require that it be fixed.
And that's, I get that, but why wasn't that caught part of the design?
Again, if it was caught, it was the first cost. It's a perfect design at that point. You're still paying for the first time. You're not doing it for the second time. You're not paying me any additional design fee to cover this cost. You're paying the cost of construction to put it in the first time. You're not paying it for the second time. So I feel like that is where the contingency covers us. That it is a first cost to the owner. It is not a second cost, not a remediation cost, not a fixed cost that we already messed it up and then tried to solve it. It was identified during the process. Oh, there is a parapet wall. Maybe we overlooked one. And then maybe the height of the parapet wall was not caught correctly. That's all. Maybe it was just a 6-inch parapet wall. And again, all of us, like a project team was almost 50 people and everybody had their own responsibility. One person missed one 6-inch and that caused a drain to be missed. Tell us that we are not best designers on the board, but again, this is a lot of responsibility we are taking in terms of design.
So you're saying people aren't perfect?
But you're
I am not
professional.
perfect for sure. I'm professional, that's why I'm able to fix it.
And
I'm not perfect.
And I would point back to what we recommended for contingency is below industry norm, and we're beating that. You guys are getting a great product and a great price by the designer and construction manager by beating the industry norm by far.
I understand that, but aren't there risk contingencies put in the bid? When you set a bid, when the subcontractors put their bid out, they have risk things that they put in addition to their bid to take care of things.
That's their at-risk portion, you know, that's the subcontractor trade. We don't have access to that.
But you don't do that on your total bill, you don't have your own, that's the contingency, that's it. And then your profit is considered
As the percentage from the.
And what is that again?
2.25.
What?
2.25.
2.25?
Mr. Collins, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
On all of these change orders, there's a project fee at the end of it. What is that?
That is that's our change order fee of 5%.
Because it's not in the 104, 105.
My dude, shouldn't that have been in the original contract?
It's a fee only added to these items. It's not a fee on to everything else. It's just, if there was additional work that had to be done, which is what all of these are, then we add our change order fee to that.
So
You're at 5% to the cost of that item.
To each item. The project fee is massive compared to, well, massive is an overstatement. The project fee is sizable on each one, and that's just because you had to do it?
And that's, is that the ASI A19?
No, it's on
Okay.
every single one.
I understand, but is that what that number is?
that's first work in
To
place.
Sheeta's point, it was work that would have had to be done anyway,
At the front
so
or at this point.
But that's what that number relates to.
Yeah.
Okay.
is our fee, yes.
Okay, so I understand that changes need to be made. I get that. Like, I had a couple of questions for DLR. Makes perfect sense. I understand, totally. Now we have to pay NAMPOLs for every missed thing in addition to what we're already paying to get this done?
I would hesitate to say pay NAMPOLs, because it's paying the subcontractors that are doing the work,
Well,
we're just managing it.
These are on, this is yours. It's only on your
Yeah,
terms.
I mean, you are correct, you are paying us that, but that money is getting sent to subcontractors, it's
Oh.
not like we're just,
So that would be under subcontractor coordination. which would be on the construction contingency.
No, that's a type of error. If we made an error in coordinating our subcontractors and we had 2 people come in the same spot the same day, only one of them can work, and I have to pay that person that can't work in there because I screwed up coordination, that's something that we pay for.
I understand paying the costs and paying for the insurance and paying for the warranty and all of this stuff, but the project fee is wild to me, and maybe it's because I'm not in that field, but like,
In the contract that you reviewed, that fee is in there. That was negotiated at the beginning.
But like the one, ASRI 826 is 47, right? That's,
Correct.
so that's the fees to have them come in and,
So my question.
that's not the equipment, that's service that,
That's
or labor.
our fee for managing the work that has to be done. So, $47,000.
Which would have been up front or.
I got it, okay.
So my question would be for Mr. Jeter. So are we in violation of a contract with the architect or contractors by not accepting the presented change orders currently?
Well, you'd be, that's normally a conversation that we would have as attorney-client privilege in executive session.
I think I can't answer the violation part for in terms of legal language, but since the work has been done or is already on order to be done, the contractors need to be paid. One thing we have to clarify, none of these money is coming to the DLR group, or like a construction team does get the project management fee, but the subcontractors are the one who is taking on this work and doing things. Many of the times they have also identified, oh, maybe we need a drain here. Like a drain is a perfect example. And they say like, oh, do you not need a drain here or something like that? And that's what was brought to our attention. We said, okay, yeah, we agree. Let's add the drain, and the cost is accounted for that. So once you do that, they have already either executed the work or they will be executing the work. And this is a solution that is needing to complete the project. So I do not know if
So
you can
a lot of these
justify not
projects-
paying.
A lot of these projects are already completed before they're approved, which is
Okay,
not,
I-
it's not out of the ordinary, I understand that. A lot of times, because you gotta get the project going, you gotta
It's
go.
the schedule that.
We don't want to
has-
come back to you for extra days.
Exactly,
We gotta keep
but
them for-
we've also had 1 to 2 meetings a month that this could be brought to us in pieces instead of,
Every change order, I do not know contractually where we stand. Do we need to approve every change order through the board? I don't know.
I think
That's
so.
on the.
I do have a question. I think I've connected, here's my comparison, tell me if I'm on the right page here. It's test day, I'm a teacher, it's test day, and I have 30 kids in the class, and I know that I'm gonna have to grade 30 tests. 25 kids show up, 5 kids are gone for some reason. Those 5 kids still have to take the test, and I still have to grade them, correct? That's kind of like a change order. Those 5 kids were expected to take the test, they weren't there, I still have to give them the test at another time and grade them at another time. Is that kind of like a change order?
Close.
Okay.
So
Now,
much in your terms as we
here's
can.
my thing. I don't get paid extra to grade those 5 tests.
DLR's not getting
Yeah,
paid.
No,
extra.
I'm talking to Nowholtz.
Yeah.
I don't get paid, I don't get a project fee for grading those 5 tests that I was expected to grade in the first place. I don't get a project fee for doing the extra time for those 5 kids.
If we incorporated that into the GMP, the 104, 105 million, then yes, we would not get fee. Since this is outside of that, that's why the fee is.
Okay, so let's talk about the boost program, which was outside of the scope of kids doing the regular semester coursework. The teacher is still responsible for the boost program to give the students extra work to be able to pass, and they don't get paid extra for grading those boost
I don't think
tests.
you
Yeah,
can
but your
compare that
teacher's not
at
hiring
all.
somebody to work
I don't
on
think
it.
you compare that at all to this. Okay, so if I have somebody come to my house and he fixes my sink, and then the sink breaks the next day, I guarantee you he's gonna charge you just to drive to your house to repair it again. I guarantee that
What
he's
you're,
gonna do
what you're
it.
saying, they're
But-
coming to your house to fix your sink. And they find
I'm
the
saying you're
pipe,
gonna
the pipe
have
and the water that's
contingencies.
coming to it is not
Yeah, if
matched.
it's
So
clogged,
that's
so
what they're
what do you
talking
do?
about.
You
Yes,
don't
sir.
pay
You have
for
to change the
changing the
pipe, so
pipe?
you have to change the
You have to do
valve.
something, so you have to, I
totally
don't
agree
think
to
you
pay
can
them to change
compare
the pipe.
my job, what I
This
do,
is an extra
to,
fee, which is wild.
to this. I've reviewed this and reviewed it and reviewed it. And talked to contractors on a smaller scale, way smaller scale. Even my house that was built, I changed things on it 3 times. And it was things like putting a fireplace in the basement versus not. I mean, and that was not at this level of expensive. So I get it. I get it, guys. I get it.
I do have one more question. So your risk is making sure that the scope is met at the budget established in the GMP. That's your risk. Your job is to ensure that we get all of the things that we wanted instead of cutting costs or things out. Like, that is your risk, correct? I would like the full scope of work that we originally agreed upon for each building. I think truly that would help me understand, because like, there's so many things going on, and it's like so hard for me to keep track of, because I'm like, wait, did we talk about that already? And I can only take so many notes. I know that you guys have a full scope of work. I would like that.
So the scope of work would be the drawings and specifications.
No, that's not a scope of work, you know it. A scope of work talks about 20% of the project is this, 50% of the project is this. We are expected, we want to put this and this and this and this. It's not a picture. It can be, but it's more than that. I want the full scope of work.
I have a question about the
Define
design.
that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I'd need.
Yeah.
permission to look,
So-
'cause we bid off drawings and specifications, and if those change, that's what this is.
So we come to you and we say, hey, we want more space. In our high school, we want more gym space, we want more classroom space, we want more space for our students, yada, yada, yada. And we come up with, okay, we're gonna have this many classrooms. It's gonna be this much of electrical, this much of concrete, this much of whatever. This much is going into finishing touches, kind of like, can you go back to the?
That's in the GMP.
That's what the GMP.
That's exactly what that contract is a list of items that they need to purchase and subcontractors who I mean, that's what is, it's a list of those things, Jamie. That's exactly what's there. They're all they're all priced
We're on the
out.
hook for this anyways.
That's the contract that we signed.
I'm so ticked. We are paying you a butt ton of money. And I'm trusting you not to screw us here. I'm asking, I'd like, just so we're on the same page. I came in this like totally understanding, 208,000 on the scope of 114 million is nothing. I understand it. I do think we're doing great with contingency. Let that be known. But I do know if questions are not asked and things are not followed up on, it's so easy to be taken advantage of. And I do not agree that the GMP is the full scope of work. The GMP is a presentation that is simplified down. I know that the scope is long. And like, trust me, like, I am not afraid of long. I've read 2 contracts in like 3 days and I hated every second. But I need it to understand. And I need it to justify what's going on so that I can make educated decisions.
So how long have you been in business with Naples? How long have they been in business?
It's 75 plus years.
75 plus years. So do you really think that Nabholz Construction would put themselves in jeopardy of screwing USD 489 over of contingencies? Do you really think that? Because I don't. I've worked, my industry is the same way. You work for these people, you don't go in business to screw people over. I really don't think that these gentlemen and women are doing that to USD 489. Again, you buy anything and you have contingencies with it. You buy a car and you're gonna have contingencies with it because I wanted to add gloss paint, I wanted to add, car washes every month. You have contingencies with that, and you're not talking this scale. I've looked at it over and over and over. There isn't anything on here. And Jamie, you asked for, you want to know this, you want to know this, you want to know this. I don't. I'm not an architect. I'm not a construction worker. So when you tell me what the modified ductwork layout beyond my coordination drawings means, I have no clue. I have no clue. And I don't want to know because that's their job. That's what we're paying them to do. That is what USD 489 and the previous board and the citizens of Hayes City voted for, was this to happen. And you're not having any faith in these people. I believe you're not having any faith in these people.
I
And
don't agree. I have plenty of faith in these people, and I have like stood back and watched and been like applauding because it is great work, but it's still our job to ask questions,
It
and
is
it's still
our
our
job
job
to
to make
ask
sure that
questions.
things are getting
Does
taken
anybody
care
have
of.
any more do you have any more questions?
Yes. When the guaranteed max, the design was 100% complete or 85, 95?
100%.
It was 100%
To
complete.
the point where we did identify the misses, like, which is being identified during the construction process. But it's 100% construction documents that was bid for, and we went through different scope changes, like, after bidding, because it came in very high, and we identified two scope cards there.
So we're talking about the contingencies for the overcost and the overruns. So what like time, T&M, time and
We didn't
materials?
get paid up any.
Okay, but what if they are lower than what we expected? I mean, there's both ways, right? I mean, you could come in and get it done in a week instead of you had planned 2 weeks, but we were charged for 2 weeks of work
I think.
in the
I'll let
general,
Brett
in the
and-
scope.
I think what you're asking is if more efficient to ask for time and material or a guaranteed price from a subcontractor to complete additional work. Is that what you're asking?
I'm asking that if we have good weather and we're busting through it and we're saving a lot of money, where's the savings go?
Are you-
General
Are you asking
contractor?
for us or for our subcontractors? Because all of our work is subcontracted. So if they had a lump sum and they were able to be more efficient with what they did, they don't have any contractual obligation to give that money back.
If it goes over, we're not gonna ask you.
And that's the flip side of it. And that's why
So it's a double-edged sword.
we try to avoid T&M whenever we can.
'Cause it puts us-
It's just an open checkbook. is
Puts
what it is.
all of us at risk.
I understand that, but I also see that there's times that there's savings. And I don't know if we see the savings or if it's, or the opportunity to say, okay, well, this is gonna cost us this much more, well, maybe we need to cut over here to stay within budget. That's what we do.
Our goal is to save you as much money so you can do more things with your bond.
I mean, the fact that they're almost through with this project, I mean, they're
We're
over
wanting to get
halfway
that
through.
back to the bond. I mean, it's already in the bond, but our hope is to save you money so you can utilize it.
But we're not saving if we spend it somewhere else. That's what I'm saying.
Correct, but we anticipated that you were gonna need to spend
That's
all
what we
$1
advise
million
you to have it
of that.
at a lower market rate.
So if we review every little thing, like Jamie's asking, every little thing that we come back, how far off are we putting Hayes High being completed then? And what would that cost be for you guys being here longer? Because, I mean, you have guys that could have another contract in November, right?
That'd be an unknown.
That would be an unknown.
Yeah.
So you're
I
talking
would hate to go down
expenses
that
there
route.
because we're prolonging this to be complete.
That-
So then what would that, how would you even look at that exceeding the bond? If it doesn't stay on schedule.
Yeah, if we don't stay on schedule, that will be extended.
A
time to
scope
the
of work
project.
is not so I can go through and change everything. It's so that when I sit in a meeting and they're talking about this is supposed to happen, I'm not lost. It's so I can be prepared for future meetings. I want to understand what we are getting so that when a change order comes in, I can be like, oh yeah, we did forget. We thought that the drains came with the shower, but they didn't. We do have to buy that. You're right. Like, it is not to follow up and say, oh no, you need to change this. It's so that for future meetings, I'm not sitting there asking for more questions and having to have more special meetings. It's so that I'm adequately prepared. But at this point, I make a motion to approve Hayes High School change order for PCC 02 for $208,539 as presented.
Second.
Okay.
There's nothing we can do.
I didn't get my questions asked, so I'm gonna ask.
Can I ask some more questions?
I got, so I'll have discussion, it's been moved a second, discussion. I'm gonna ask first. So, this is due to either fixes, product's got changed, where it got a different product than we thought, or it's on a request, correct?
Yeah.
That's where it's come from, people.
Yeah.
One of those three
Or
categories.
something that was not necessarily identified during design or mistake. like-
I would call that a fix.
Fix, yes.
Okay, where's the realm of this? Is most of these owner requests or most of these fixes, most of these product changes? Or is it equal?
I think it's a mix, yeah, because PCC 03
I
is
would call it
your
up to
228, yeah.
33, 33, 33 on
Yeah.
all the three. Okay, okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Mr. Park, you had another question?
Yes, how often is DLR on site?
We are contractually here every 2 weeks.
You're here every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you could meet with the board, I mean, can you work that out, that you, if we have more questions, or you could come on that days that you're here? I mean, it seems like if these things are brought to our attention earlier, and we know there's gonna be changes, it'd be nice if we could.
Contractually, we are construction observation.
Yeah, I mean, if we need to be here, certainly could. If there's changes and you.
That's
want to hear
industry
about it.
standard, isn't it, correct, that you are available for the owner?
Sure. I mean, if you, I mean, we could certainly talk about this if ever change order, or we can group that together and come talk to you before it happens, if that's.
I understand you can't do every single one, that doesn't make sense. But if there's some, here's what's coming up, you know, not this big chunk.
Yeah,
or
generally
even
the
then.
owner decides, like, we work with a lot of school districts, and 20,000 is the, has a state law. If it's anything more than 20,000, that needs to go to the board, and the owner decides if we need to present to the board. That's how I have worked. I didn't do it.
Well, I think that, different school districts are different amounts that, you know, what's allowable to be, done without board approval, but, you know, certainly,
Now, I know you work for a lot of, especially in the Kansas City area, Shawnee Mission, Blue Valley, all those, every one of those has construction managers that you work with, correct?
Yeah,
when you say construction manager, do you mean
On site,
They're,
yeah, owner.
they're owner representatives
No.
or CM?
CM.
they have contract managers on staff that work with you and look through the plan, with the contractors, go through the bids.
Yeah, each school district has, maintenance on the side, they have maintenance staff that, oversee some of that.
And then even more past contract.
Shawnee Mission, for example, has a facilities director.
Yeah.
They're
But they have two
But
contractors.
so do we.
under-
I mean, let's just, Rusty,
I'm sure you know.
I mean, Rusty works
Rusty is
with these
present in the
guys
OACs
very in
every
depth.
time,
Yeah, yeah, we,
Ruth, you have a question?
Well, I was just wondering if after we could go into executive session with Mr. T.
The motion, we've already got a motion in a second. Do you have any more questions?
No, I don't have.
Do you have any questions? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of passing, there it is, Hayes High School change order PCCO2 for $208,539 as presented. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Oh, mine was a yes, I'm with you.
Megan?
Megan voted, I need James to vote.
It hasn't,
I voted yes.
my bad, it didn't pop up, I was on the wrong one.
5-1,
Yes, I voted.
passes 5. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming and helping us understand. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Right,
Oh, do you, oh,
if we could go into executive
It's-
session with.
I don't think we can.
I don't-
It's not on the agenda.
it's gotta be on the agenda.
For a special meeting.
Special meeting is only, and I did read it. It
You
says,
can only follow what's the notice.
yeah, on the policies. I read the policies. It's only what's on the agenda, so we have to tackle that next time. Okay.
Who made the motion?
Who made the motion to adjourn? I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, no? Good? Yep. Motion passes. Thank you.